All right, if you're a note taker, take out your notes. If you guys want the license at the end, there is gonna be a test you have to pass. So take your notes if you care about getting the license for first responder. But eyeballs out here, whenever somebody's up here, we're gonna be listening. That means you too. That means off the phone addiction for a little bit. You can do your phone addiction, but do it outside, not in my classroom. You know how it is. All right, so we're going over first responder. Before I get started, does anybody have any questions? No? Okay, start from beginning. I'm gonna forward. So first responder, so introduction to EMS systems. So some of the topics that I had you guys watch videos on and read on is on this chapter, all right? So you guys should know some of this stuff. I'm gonna blast through the objectives and we're gonna get straight into EMS systems. So timeline of a formal system for responding to emergencies. So from when somebody calls or somebody gets injured, somebody sees that injury and calls 911 to when we get there, that's pretty much the entire EMS system. It does extend into the ED. What is ED? Emergency department, all right, or ER. So it does extend into there because that's where we deliver the patient, right? So it does extend there. So American Civil War corpsmen trained to provide care for immediate life threats such as bleeding. So corpsmen, there's combat medics. If you're a combat medic, that means you're in the Army. If you're a corpsman, that means you're in the Navy, all right? So a corpsman is the exact same thing as a combat medic, but if you're in the Navy, you're with the Navy. Now, if you're a combat medic for the Navy, which is a corpsman, right? This right here, corpsman, you are either gonna go to a boat, most likely, or you're gonna be attached to a Marine platoon. Because Marines don't have their own like combat medics. They don't make their own combat medics, so they borrow them from the Navy, all right? So that's why you always see Navy and Marines working together. Because technically, even though the Marine, you guys know the Marine as like its own department, right? Like its own thing. Technically, it's like a department of the Navy. So they write together because they are together. Okay? Blah, blah, blah. So this goes over the history. It goes back for like your textbook and stuff like that. It says that the EMS goes far back as like back, and you guys know Napoleon, the French guy that like killed a whole bunch of people and like was like a kind of a badass back in the day, right? They put him in prison. He escaped prison, he came back, and everybody was like, cool, who with you? You guys know? Okay, so they say it goes back to whenever he was out there fighting battles, they would get the people that were injured in the battlefield. Sometimes they would like pause for like 5 minutes just to clear out the wounded, to bring them back, and then they'd be like, all right, let's go back. Kind of like when you push pause in your game, when you're fighting, because you got to go pee or get some nachos. Same thing for them, except they were pushing pause on their fighting game to get their wounded out. And that's as far back as we have recorded, okay? So it goes way further than that. And then this right here, if you're a note taker, you guys ever heard of the Red Cross? That association that we're gonna be a part of, the Red Cross. Well, she created the Red Cross. So this name is gonna be kind of important. It's gonna come up. So I would put down Clara Barton. She created the American Red Cross. All right, Clara Barton, last name Barton. She created the Red Cross, technically. Besides that, nothing else really stands out. Well, we've been doing this anytime somebody ever got injured and it was like a team against a team, we've been doing this since the first rock got thrown on another person. All right, but that's what we have recorded right now that nobody burned out. Can you get that, please, Nathan? Keep going with this. I'm just gonna blast. Okay, hold up. Actually, there is one thing that I do want you guys to write down as far as the history. Right now, write 1950s to 1960s. Write that down. 1950s to 1960s. That does matter. And when I get to it, I'll talk about it. Wow, it's just like fast forwarded. All right, so here, let's see what this says. The first use of helicopter evacuation injured, blah, 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 waiting Pre-hospital, nope, nobody cares about that right now. 1966, the reported title, I write this down, accidental death and disabilities, all right? Just that title by itself, just write it down, it'll make sense later. So 1950s, 1960s, that's when, what you guys see out there, like the fire trucks and the ambulance, so modern EMS was born in the 1950s, 1960s. Modern, so today's type of EMS that you guys are experiencing, if you guys like hurt your finger or get shot, depending on what you're doing, making a chair or gangbanging, right, you female? So the EMS you have right now, the exposure, was born in 1950s, 1960s. How do you guys guess it ended up being what it is today? Because it's pretty efficient today. Like you call them, they'll be there pretty fast, 5-10 minutes, depending on where you are. How do you think that came to be? How did today's EMS system come to be what it is right now? So in 1950s, 1960s, the government nationwide from coast to coast decided to start making highways. All right? Those highways, besides the fact that they relocated people and did all that crap, those highways themselves started causing death as well because we weren't ready for it. We didn't have anything in place for when cars that were going crazy fast across the country crashed. We didn't have a system in place, so there were all these dead bodies on the highways everywhere. Nobody was there to pick them up. That's pretty gruesome, right? So someone's gonna do something about that because it's visible. Because you can see it, because you made it for people to drive, to cut through other areas, and now what you created is causing death. And it's visible because everybody's being kind of forced to use it, to push upon. You get that? So they had to create a system to take care of those bodies. And that's how today's EMS system was born. It was born through highway systems, because highway systems were made, put in place, all these cars were going fast, people were just barely learning how to really drive on these things and the rules, and they were making the rules as we went. People were dying, and we didn't have something in place to carry the bodies off the highway. So we had to make a system to get the bodies off the highway. That's pretty much it, all right? And this right here, this paper, is what had a lot to do with it, all right? So the neglected disease of modern society, commonly referred to as a white paper. So what I would write down is what I just said about, modern EMS was born 1950s, 1960s because of the highway system, right? Brand new highways. We never had highways before like this. Bodies everywhere. We didn't have we didn't have anybody to pick up those bodies, right? However you want to put that down there. Put highway system, arrow, bodies, arrow, no way to pick them up. Equals EMS system born. I don't know, all right? Highways were made, bodies everywhere, no way to pick them up. Let's do something about it. EMS, modern EMS was born. Okay, that's that simple. And the accidental death and disabilities kind of highlighted that, and it kind of talked about some other things, and that's kind of what got the government, to do that. So that paper, again, the accidental death and disabilities, that paper is also known as the white paper. So if you hear the white paper, it's about that, and it's really just talking about how, we don't have a system in place for all these bodies and everything else that comes along with it. All right, so that's what I need you guys to really understand, the two things about the French, Napoleon, right? No, but that's funny. Napoleon, I don't know what is the other, but as far as we know, that's how far we have documentation of people being relocated because of injuries. That's EMS, okay? Obviously, we've been alive a lot longer than that, and we've been doing this, and if somebody got hit with a rock, I'm gonna take you out and take you over here away from the rocks where they're being thrown at. That's EMS. Is there somebody over there? Is that what it was? Let me see. That must do it. Can we get out right now? No? Oh, that's glitchy. Gotta be slow. No. It's just not gonna work. Or maybe if I do this. Alright. Let's see if I can just make it work like this. There's gonna be a lot of editing in this. So I'm gonna escape from this, come back over here, and I'm just gonna do it like this. What time we got?
10:05.
Okay. All right, so EMS system. So we just blow it up a little bit. Okay. All right, so EMS system, injured, transported by a horse, drawn carriage. So you guys see those Western movies with the carriage? Obviously, back then we didn't have ambulance, so we had to use whatever was available at the time. So horse and carriage, that used to be how ambulances were used, or the type of ambulances we had. So first formal ambulance system in the United States was pretty much with horse and buggy. Okay, horse and buggy. EMS, so if you don't know this right now, and you're definitely someone that cares, that wants to like maybe get a first responder cert, get a job as a ski patrol in the wintertime, or lifeguard on the lake, whatever, and you're a note taker, write this down. So EMS, whenever you see that, that just means emergency medical services. And that's talking about the whole system. That's from the street to the emergency department. That's the entire system and every single job in between that to get that patient from point A to point B. Okay, so that's EMS. Chain of human resources and services linked together, what I just talked about in a different way. Continuous emergency care. So anytime you guys see like a sentence like this, like that's probably gibberish for some of you guys. So just whatever I say, if it clicks, make your own translation, okay? That's all this is, that's all studying is. Make your own translation so you figure it out. Any questions so far? No? All right. Krishaya, Clara Barton. She made the Red Cross. I love that. When is the Braden? First time we ever had documentation. Not that we did, but we just only had documentation this far back for our EMS services. You don't know? What's above Battalion? You know your geography? Man. What was the first time, the only documentation that we have right now where it proves that we first started EMS? No, the first documented, the first time anybody ever documented that we actually had to take somebody from point A to point B because they were injured. Napoleon, the French, right? Obviously, we've been alive a lot longer than that, but that's when it's been documented. Hey, this person had this idea and we did it, but obviously it's been done a lot longer. But that's how far of documentation we have as of right now for EMS. All right? Cool. All right. Let's not worry about this for right now. Not worried about that for right now. All right, so in case you guys don't know, this class we're taking from now on into the rest of the semester, this is technically emergency medical responder. All right, that is the course, that is the certification you're taking right now. And you can get that certification, it's an option to you, as long as you pass the rest of the class. That's something secondary, all right? But because you took this class, you guys will have the option, all right? So that is first responder. Kamari,
Yes.
control your ADHD, don't let it control you, okay? All right, so there's different models, I'm serious. All right, so EMS models, see, fire-based, what do you think fire-based is? Johnny, what is fire-based EMS? If I say EMS, what does EMS stand for? Emergency Medical Services, right?
Yeah.
All right, so if I say it's a fire-based EMS, what are you thinking? What comes to your mind? If the fire alarm goes off here, who's gonna show up? That's part of the EMS system. You just took us 2 minutes to just think about that. All right, cool. So that's that. So fire-based, there's different EMS systems. So fire-based is one way, right? They're everywhere. Another EMS system is your private sector. That's American Ambulance. That's a different model altogether. American Ambulance is for profit. Fire should not be for profit. It's a community thing. So if you're going off of different models, you're gonna have a different approach, right? Law enforcement is its own base, its own form of it. So EMS models is like different way of doing things. It's like we play the same game, we play a similar game with similar equipment, but we use different rules. That's kind of the mentality. Then we have third service or public utility.
You write that down, Steve?
I would definitely, yes. All right, so different models.